Rightio, our next guest speaker. Let me give him an introduction. I think we can all agree that as agents, we all strive to stand out more. And we also want our personal brand to resonate with our audience. I'm really excited to hear, I guess I should do that, shouldn't I, Manos? I'm really excited to hear from our next guest speaker, as he is considered a pioneer who has helped shape the landscape of the real estate marketing. Steve Osborn is not only the co-founder of Identity Marketing, but also a visionary with a rich history as a lecturer, web designer, and real estate marketeer. Since 2012, he has been a driving force behind campaigns that are effective, disruptive, can't wait to hear about that, and more importantly, identity-driven. Beyond the professional realm, Steve is a man of many facets. An amateur gin distiller. Okay, there you go. A proud cat dad. And he puts it, a bad vegan. I want to hear a little bit more about that as well. Please join me and welcome Steve Osborn to the Black Stole stage.
I've got my own clicker here.
Already? I'll give you that one.
All right, cheers. Yeah, I'm good. You guys good? How good is it to be back in Melbourne? How good is the conference so far? Really enjoying all the speakers that I've heard so far. It's been really good. So I'm from Identity Marketing. I've got an agency. We do a lot of branding, we do a lot of marketing, and we do a lot of strategy. And we've been doing this for 12 years for a lot of people in the property sector. And you can see some of our work on these screens, like behind me. Now, off the back of this, we often do like a lot of founder brand strategy where we help them work out what their personal brand is and what are they talking about. We often do a lot of agent personal brand strategy. And that's ultimately what we're going to be talking about today, personal branding. But before we get into it, I just want to ask like a broad question. How many people here feel like they could improve their personal brand out in the marketplace? Like how many people here feel like maybe their photos could be better, their social could possibly be elevated? Excellent. So there's quite a few people that we can help. So let's jump straight into it. So whenever we start with like personal branding, we look a lot at the overarching strategy. And so today we're going to talk about the overarching strategy, and then once we've done that, we're going to jump into the actual tactical execution of it. So with a strategy, we always start with like a top-down approach. And a top-down approach always starts with your goals. So when someone approaches us, we always say, like, why are you here today? What do you actually need to achieve? And from that, then it leads into objectives, which is like if you want to achieve that goal, these are some of the key things that you're going to have to tick off. And then if you are going to be going after those objectives and goals, you need a way of measuring that with some KPIs. And then we then look at, okay, well, who's your audience? Like, who are you actually speaking to? What are their concerns? What are they actually trying to achieve, like with their property journey? And then we look at the content pillars, so some of the key things that you can be talking about to that audience. And off the back of that, we then start weaving in some messaging and themes, so it feels like authentic to that particular audience. And then we start putting this into a strategy. So this is like a strategy template here that's fairly broad that I've tried to make that would actually resonate with quite a few people in the audience. So if we start with our goals, it could be something quite broad as like to create 24 additional opportunities through your personal brand within a calendar year. But to do that, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to define who your audience is. So who are the people that you're actually speaking to? And once you've defined who your audience is, then you need to establish credibility with that audience. And then once you've established credibility with that audience, then you need to develop and follow a content plan, because that's ultimately how you're going to establish credibility, which is then how you're actually going to start hitting your goals. And then you need a way of measuring that. So we talk a lot about depth. You know, and depth to me is all about engagement. So if people are liking, they're commenting, they're sharing your stories, they're telling you that it's resonating with them. And the more that you do that, the deeper your relationship is going with that person. Off the back of that, we then start looking at reach. So like how many people are you actually reaching with your content? And the more depth you have, the more reach you're going to naturally get. And Lisa had some really good strategies earlier on where she spoke about just giving away a little bit of information, but not all of the information, encouraging people to comment. You know, and if you can get depth and reach, you're going to start getting opportunities. I don't need to explain to you what an opportunity is. You're a real estate agent. And then off the back, there's like revenue generated. So then we start with like our audience. And our audience is ultimately like the people that we're speaking to. And in marketing, we spend a lot of time helping people define who their audience is. And I'm going to show you a couple of examples today for a real client of ours who's actually in the room today. It was a little bit awkward in the break. I had to go and chat with her and say, hey, I'm going to be showing like your customer avatars on screen. I hope that's okay. But what we do is we ask some really clear questions, like how old are they? Like what are their challenges? What are they actually trying to achieve in like working with you? Where are they at in their journey? Like how much money are they making? And then we start to build out what their avatar possibly could be. So here we've got like we've got John and Jenny. Now these guys are the quintessential empty nester couple. They're 65, they're earning about 150K, mostly through some of their investments. John's retired, Jenny's semi-retired, she's working 2 days a week at school. They're married, they've been together for a really long time, 30 years. They've been actually in the house that they're in for 30 years, and they're actually at a point in their relationship now where they're struggling to maintain this large family home. It's got a big backyard, it's got 3 bedrooms, it's just the two of them. They want to downsize, and they also want to pull out some of that equity to like secure their retirement for the future. And because the market's sort of gone up, they know they've got that equity, and so they're really looking to capitalize on that. And so what they need is convenience, like they want to stay in the area that they're in. What they need is some retirement options, and they're open to exploring villages. And what they ultimately want more than anything else is home presentation. Like they've never presented their home before. The last time they sold was 30 years ago. They need help with this. Does this sound like any of your clients? Yeah. And so then the other customer avatar that she has is Emmett and Selma. They're this lovely Greek family. They're the upsizing family. They're 38 years old. They're earning between 200 and 250K a year. Emmett's a builder / developer. He's got his own company. Selma works in marketing part-time and a couple of days, and a little bit in Emmett's business. They're married. They've got 2 kids who are like 10, 12, sort of coming into that high school age. They're growing, so they've basically got this growing family, and the house they're in is getting too small for them, so they need a bigger family. And they're planning to upsize, and timing and location is going to be really important, especially that timing piece, because Emmett, he's a builder, and he knows that he can't afford the home he wants, so he's going to have to buy it and then renovate it. And so that needs to work around his other projects that he's working on. And also they've got the 2 kids, and they need to sort of work out how that's all going to come together. And so like for them, like space to grow is going to be really critical. Like that's what they need. Like they need flexibility, and they're so open to renovation options. They're so open, and what they would love is some off-market opportunities, because they'd ultimately love to stay ahead of the market. And then you start reverse engineering that back, and you're going, well, what types of information could you actually speak about to these people? Now, so John and Jenny, decluttering and storage tips. You could quite easily do some time lapses, some before and afters. There could be some walkthroughs on some single-level move-in ready homes. Possibly a series on like preparing your home for market with week-by-week updates. Or like downsizing success stories and just talking through some of the stories that you're having with some other clients. Or maximising the sale price for retirement, and even some stories from some similar vendors. And then on the other side of that, when we look at Emmett and Selma, they've got walkthroughs and renovations. There could be some off-market and reno potential listings. Definitely some like renovation tips and time lapses, family-friendly property highlights, and then some upsizing success stories. Are some really good themes to weave in there, as well as like balancing the budget and the dream neighbourhood, and then the value in renovating to upsize. So then if you start filling this out, so this is more of the theory side of the strategy, you start filling this document out, now you've got your goals, so where you're actually going, some objectives, like how you're going to know, what you're going to need to do to get there. You've got some KPIs, as well as you clearly know who your audience is. You've got some content pillars and then some messaging and themes of like what to actually weave in. And then we start to roll into a storytelling framework. And we, as kids, we all knew how stories worked. They had 3 parts, like start, middle, and finish. And I think Lisa said a really good thing earlier where she mentioned that a lot of real estate agents just list the home and they posted just listed, and then down here they posted just sold, and I think she even walked from one side of the stage to the other. And it sort of misses the whole storytelling framework, where it's like the start is the context. The middle is like that challenge or that insight, and the end is ultimately like where you're wrapping it up in this neat bow. And I think I might even do a quick demo. So I'm just pretend for a second here that I'm a real estate agent. I'm one of you guys. So I'm just going to pretend that I'm filming a video, even though I'm not. So hi guys, today I'm just checking in on a home that we're staging for sale. The owners are downsizing, and we're aiming to maximise its value with some strategic updates. So now I'm just going to turn the camera around and point at the home and the update. So We want this home to appeal to like the growing family. So you can see here the painters have repainted the walls just to make the rooms in the living areas just look light and bright and bigger than they actually are. And you can see in the courtyard, just over there, we've painted the courtyard this dark grey colour. And what that does is it makes the greenery just pop off the walls. And we'll put some fresh mulch in there just to make it look green and tidy. And we turn the camera back. And then we've got, and so furniture and artwork's going to be going in over there next week. And so stay tuned, guys. I'm really excited to bring this to the market. It's really shaping up to be a beautiful home for like a growing family. So can you start to see how that's like weaving in the messages and the themes that we're talking about for the people that we're actually serving? So I wanted to show you an example of actually doing this because I went through a studio fit out a couple of years ago where I decided to do a fit out on my studio, and I started filming the updates because every week my team was just asking me, how's the fit out coming along? And so I started filming it, and I'd just talk through what we're doing. Sometimes I'd be on camera, sometimes I'd be behind the camera pointing at things like I was just in that demo. And what I found was that all of my clients just started commenting on it. And people just started messaging me on it. And like I did at least 20 or 30 videos over a 6-month period while we're doing this fit out. And I'd call clients and just want to talk to them about their marketing, or call potential clients to talk about signing them up as a potential client. And all they'd want to do is just talk to me about the fit out. And we'd have these long conversations about the fit out. And then at the end, I'd say, hey, do you want to go ahead with that website? Or hey, do you want to go ahead with that brand? And they'd go, yeah. And then we wouldn't even have to discuss fees. We wouldn't have to discuss like who we're competing against. And that's ultimately what I want for you. And you can do that by telling better stories. So I'm just going to show you what I did. So we're working on a fit out at the moment for the identity marketing studio. I just want to show you around the new space. So this is going to be where the team sits along the window. There'll be 4 rows of desks along here, so they have beautiful views all day. We're going to have the boardroom in the middle here. There'll be glass on this side and then glass on the front, and then a solid wall on that side. So when you're sitting in the boardroom having a meeting, you'll be able to see the team on this side and out the window as well. Side of the boardroom, we're going to have a solid wall. So we'll have like internal meetings and brainstorms will happen at a big table through here, a TV and some couches for the team to hang out through here, and some plants in the corner. Through here we'll have the kitchen. So it'll be like a nice long bench, some light wood, lots of plants along the wall, and some stools around the kitchen bench so we can all sit around. Starting to see that storytelling framework, that start, middle, finish. And it was in a circle before because the stories just keep on going. They don't have to be we listed it, we sold it. There's an 8-week process before it even got there. This here was a 6-month process. I'm not going to show you all 30 videos. I'll just show you the second one so you can see how it
these
looks.
Wooden feature walls are going to go on this wall here as you come to the top of the stairs. You can see in the kitchen it's coming together nicely. We've got some of the planter boxes in here. There'll be obviously a bench top and a sink a bit around here, and a nice big sort of island bench here. We'll have 8 stools around. Space over here, some storage will be going in through the side, and then just through here you can see as well we've got another planter box that's going in that'll just really finish off the space nicely.
Cool. So how many of you get homes ready for market or work with companies that help you get, how many? Like so many of your hands in the air right now. This is such an easy thing that you could be doing, talking about the journey of people getting their homes ready for market. For the John and Jennies of the world who actually need to do this, like it's super helpful for them to actually see that and to know that that's a service that you actually offer, because ultimately at the end of the day, like what you do is personal marketing, but who you are is personal branding. And and if you think of like the focus of like personal marketing, it's very much like your values, your unique perspectives and behind the scenes, whereas your personal marketing is more around the sales results, days on market, record prices, and showcasing your track record, whereas your personal branding is very much like showcasing your personality, showcasing your relatability like I did in that video, and like what you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. And at the end of the day, that builds that loyalty and trust, whereas the personal marketing builds awareness, which is what you're doing with all the marketing that you're doing. You're building awareness. Both of them generate leads, but with the personal branding, it builds that loyalty, and that loyalty lets you charge higher fees with less competition. Marty Neumeier, he has this incredible book called The Brand Flip, and in that book he says, we don't want to be sold to, but geez, we love to buy. And then he goes on to say, and today, people buy in tribes, and tribes are connected through technology. And the company with the biggest tribe wins. And I say, like, the agent with the biggest tribe wins. And I think there's so many ways that you can easily take short-term tactics. And I see this with the real estate agents where they'll literally drive up to a listing in their video and they're selling this $600,000 unit and they've got a car that's worth more than the unit. It just doesn't make sense. Like, how is that helping John and Jenny or Emma and Selma? It just has no connection whatsoever. And so that's just a short-term tactic that's grabbing attention, and ultimately that leads to consumer burnout. Whereas if you take a long-term approach where you're building trust, that trust is building connection, that connection is building that tribe is building loyalty, that loyalty is building customers, and so on, that's how you build a big scalable business. I want you to take a look at this person here, Mark Zuckerberg, and tell me, like, what sort of words come to mind just looking at it, at this picture. Tasty? Stressed? Yeah, I see like an evil conglomerate corporation figurehead. What about this picture? Same person. He's this like cool tech entrepreneur in this picture here. But what's the difference? It's photography. You know, he's gone through some really bad PR and really had to spend time thinking about what his personal brand is. And I don't think enough real estate agents spend enough time thinking about what their personal brand is. Like, are you the local agent with the coffee cup, you know, at the front of like the local coffee store, just smiling, you know? You're the local agent. Like, is that your look? Or are you like the high fashion agent, you know, in this beautiful listing? Like, is that your style? And if that's your thing, that's totally fine. Or are you like the friendly EBU? You know, like you're just smiling and working together. Or are you working so hard they just like capture you? Like in this action pose, they never capture you like smiling, you're just always working hard. Like, actually think through like what's your brand and then how do you translate that into your photography and into your videography, and what sort of like messages are you going to start saying? What are some of the taglines that would align to someone that acts that way? And just getting some consistency around that. Because at the end of the day, I see a lot of agents starting their personal brand journey and they decide, well, I probably need to start with a logo, and I probably need to start with a website, and they'll spend like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on these things, and it doesn't work. Like, it literally doesn't do anything for them. Like, because that's what you use for corporate branding, and corporate branding is so different to personal branding. Personal branding is all about who you are. You know, and I think Mark Zuckerberg did a lot of work on creating good, positive associations, you know, to who he is as a person, because he went through all that bad press. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what I want you to be able to do is create associations with you, and then possibly even the types of homes that you sell. You know, if you think of Apple, you know, you'd probably associate words like what, innovation, maybe design to them. Right, but there's arguably better products on the market right now with like better features than what the new iPhone has. But it's just that Apple is just incredible at marketing. And then if you sort of like look at their launch sequence of how they would launch a new phone, it starts very much with like, okay, we're going to leak some information out to the press. That information then gets written up in blogs. Those blogs then become like newsworthy articles. Those newsworthy articles then go straight into the like media launch. The media launch is when you have the CEO on a stage like this with the big like imagery behind him, and he's telling you how this new iPhone is going to change the world, and you can touch and you can feel the phone, but you can't buy the phone yet because it's not for sale. Right? And then the media makes all these stories about it that then leads into the launch, and you can see on the screen behind me what the launch looks like. People literally camp out overnight to go to this launch, and then guess what happens in the first hour? They sell out. You'd think after 20 years they'd make more, right? But they don't, because the fact that they sold out creates news, and that news gives us social proof that, holy crap, like Apple makes really good products. It must have great design. It must have great technology. Then that leads into the pre-orders. They have record pre-orders. That's even more news. And then finally, it's like the retail experience where normal people like you and I go into the store and just buy a phone. But they don't get to here without going through all that. But the problem a lot of real estate agents have is they'll literally list a property, take it straight to market, and just skip a whole bunch of opportunities to actually associate themselves to that type of listing. And so I thought about that. And I thought, well, how could you reverse engineer what Apple does in a real estate context? Let's say that you list a property that's like the ideal property, that you want to be selling. You literally chew or rip your own arm off, to get that listing. What should you be doing? And so I put together a bit of a framework for that. So what I'm saying is that as the property is being photographed, so 2 days before it even goes live, do a teaser. So the photographer's in there getting some photos. Do a teaser of the photographer in there. Then the next day, get this beautiful 15-second video that the videographer's made that just showcases the home really quickly. And put that up on as a reel and just say, coming soon in suburb. And just let's say it's Northcote, the suburb Northcote. And then the next day, we'll do another one that just says, launching tomorrow in Northcote, another 15-second, beautifully added reel. So 2 different pieces of video. And then the third day, we're actually going to release it with all the information. So we've actually brought consumers in on this journey where they've known something's coming. There's been 3 pieces of content. They haven't had a chance to actually know, what's the address, what's the price, what's any information. They're commenting, they're asking questions, they're sending you messages, they're liking it, they're sharing it. They're trying to get this information. On this day, you then give them all the information. So post the full reel with all the information in there, put $500 media spend behind it, push it out to your entire suburb. Let's just say it's Northcote. The next day, post all the photos and the carousel out to the feed so everyone can see that. Day before the first open, grab one of those photos, one of those videos that you used earlier on. Put that on there and say, first open, 15 Smith Street, Northcote, 2 p.m. tomorrow. Day of the first open, walk through. Show how busy it is. 15 Smith Street, Northcote. Wow, so crazy busy. And then the day before before the auction, do another story where it's auction tomorrow, 2 p.m. with one of those professionally edited pieces of content. Put it up there, auction tomorrow, 2 p.m. And then the day of the auction, walk through, show how busy the auction is, and then capture the last 15 seconds of that auction. What you can even do at the end is grab that reel, put it on as a story, and then have the address, have the details about the sale as much as you want to put on there, the price, and then save that as a case study in your highlights reel. So if people are looking you up and on your Instagram profile, they're going to see that, wow, this guy knows his stuff when it comes to marketing, and he sells really good properties, and he's got all these great case studies, as opposed to he's been to Europe recently. It kind of shows what you actually do and shows that you're great at marketing. And I've had this conversation a few times with people, and they've struggled to execute that idea. And so I just wanted to make it really easy for you. Here's an email to your videographer asking them to quote you on doing that video package that I just discussed then in that launch framework. So if you take a photo of it, you can take this, you can give it to your videographer. You don't need to think too much of it. You're welcome. Okay, so I wanted to show you a couple of pieces of content that I think this guy, Colin from Amalfi Jets, does anyone follow him? Yeah, so he's big on TikTok. He's got 1 million followers. He's one of my favorite TikTokers. And he's done a couple of videos, and I wanted to talk about them and give you some ideas that I think you could actually implement and execute. And I think, that one of the themes that have been about today's conference has all been about authenticity. And so I'll give you these ideas. You might think they don't suit you, or you might think, that's good, but I could add this to it. Don't do it because I said to do it. Do it because it suits you. So I'll play that first video.
Have you flown privately before in the past?
Yeah, I've only ever flown private.
Got it. Yeah, it's the best way to travel. And is there a particular airplane that you've flown on that you like?
I just want whatever the newest one will be, and I need it here soon.
Okay. Yeah, the airplane's there. The crew's on a 3-hour call-out time, so we'll be able to take off in 3 hours. Pricing for this, I'm looking... Right now? The best I'm going to be able to do is 3 hours, just because the crew's not at the airport right now.
Yeah, that's not acceptable.
Got it. Okay. Would you still be open to 3 hours?
I don't know if I said my dad's on this call, or
okay.
If it's because I'm younger, but...
no, it has nothing to do with your age, just, again, the pilots aren't physically there.
He's got some really funny videos, because he deals with some really wealthy people, helping them travel around the world. And one thing I love about his videos is that he's just filming himself having conversations. And I was like, don't real estate agents have conversations? And then I thought, what if you just had a camera set up when you were negotiating the sale price of a home? And you actually could capture that moment where you said to someone, well, if I said no to that offer, what would your next best offer be? And then actually went through the process of doing that negotiation. And wouldn't you be able to show me that you're great at negotiation? Because like I'm seeing all this marketing where people are saying, I'm great at negotiation, but no one's showing me. Or what if you could just show me that you're great at negotiation? Or what about like when it came time to present offers, where you captured that moment when you were talking to your vendors, and you captured that moment where you got this great offer. So instead of having like the text of a testimonial as a story, you can actually have them on speakerphone and they're talking, and you can get the excitement in their voice. Or what if when it came time to like discussing with buyers to let them know their offer had been accepted? Like you could have fun with that. You could say, hey, Maria and Manos, like I've got some bad news for you. Your offer's been accepted. You know, like you could have some fun with that and like capture that raw emotion and that feeling, and then really showcase your personality in some of those videos. You might like to be silly like that, or you might be the serious agent. But whoever you are, there's an opportunity for you to showcase your personality. I want to show you this second video here.
When did you get your pilot's license?
When I was 18 years old.
Have you ever had an emergency landing?
Too many times, 2 times, one in Florida, one in LA, landed safe on the runway, everything was all good.
So what I love about that video is they're just asking him questions. It's so easy to execute. Anyone in the audience can answer questions and do it on a camera. And then I thought, well, how could a real estate agent do that? And then I thought, well, what about if when you've listed a home for sale, you just team up with someone in your office and you get them to call you and ask you a whole bunch of questions about that property, and you know the answers, and you've got that on speakerphone. All of a sudden you get to showcase your expertise, you get to showcase your knowledge, you get to showcase that you actually know what it is when you're selling someone's house. You actually know how to talk about that home and how to represent them in a good way. And then I also thought, well, what if you did some in-property Q&As? Like when you've listed a property and you're going there with your videographer, and your videographer is asking you some questions on camera. And you could actually just film that. And then I thought, what if I just wrote you guys some questions? And so I did that. So I've got 18 questions under 6 different categories here. Like imagine you're walking through a home and someone just asks you, if you're a buyer, what would excite you the most about this home? How does this property compare to other ones in your area? Hey, can you walk us through the layout? What are some of the local amenities in the area that make this home special? Why is now a great time to buy in this neighborhood? Like, surely you can answer these questions on camera. Surely that would make great content. I just wanted to show you a couple of real quick technical things. This here's a DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I love this. I've actually got one over there in my bag. What I love is you can double tap on your face and then it follows you around. It's like having a cameraman in your pocket. So like if you do auctions, you can like literally put it on a tripod, tap on your face, walk around. If you've got it in an open home, you can walk around, be interacting with people. If you buy the Creator Combo, it comes with like a microphone that connects to it, which is what I love about it. It's crystal clear audio and it's super easy to use. So get that. I don't make any money off selling that. And the other thing you need to look at is just if you are doing indoor filming, get a light. You can see here I'm using just an LED light panel. It just makes your videos look so much nicer with that light in there. And then you start to see how this all comes together. So at the top, we've got our property framework. That's like the Apple launch sequence. So if you've got a property going to market, I'd be running that. And at the bottom, we've got our storytelling framework. So on Monday, we might be talking about presenting offers to vendors or presenting offers to buyers. On Tuesday, it might be the story behind like how you actually negotiated that sale price. Wednesday could be an update of a property coming to market where you're walking through it, kind of like how I did with my studio fit out. Thursday might be a Q&A over the phone about a new listing where maybe you're setting it up with someone else in the office and they're asking you questions about that. Friday and Saturday could be some of those questions I just had on screen. And then Sunday, just do something like that you would do in your personal life and share that just to show that you're a normal human being. Then you put your personal brand strategy on the wall. You've got your content calendar on the wall. So you've got a plan of where you're going, and then you've actually got a plan of how you're going to tactically execute that on a daily and weekly basis. At the end of the day, guys, there's no competition in being you. There's so much competition in competing on being number one. I'm competing on days on market. I'm competing on having the highest sale price. But there's no competition in being you. And this is what personal branding is all about. No one can do it better. Thank you.
Sorry, Steve. I got a little bit distracted then because as you were talking, I went straight onto Amazon and found out it's just over $1,100 for that Gizmo Osmo thing. You get it in your house delivered tomorrow. So
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. How many takeaways could we possibly have? If that's your whole year calendar. You've got scripts to use. The Q&A, those questions that we can ask when we're simply inside at home, it takes that fear factor out of making video for all of your socials, for your website, for anything. That session has got to be absolutely invaluable for every single person in their business in this room. Would you guys agree? Well, let's show it with our appreciation. Thank you, Steve. Great. Steve knows, in fact, I turned to Mario Manos and I said, shit, this guy knows his stuff. That is a technical term.